No, the only way you fix this, and this is what I felt 2 or 3 weeks ago, is the January transfer market. They've just got so many players of a certain age in the same position, and signings that they've made over the last sort of 12, 24 months have not been good enough. And when you're asking them now to step up, they're not at the level that's needed. Being, you know, I think of probably Nunes, Doku, who've come in. Like you think of course Calvin Phillips was bought a couple of years ago as well.
Silvinho's come in.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, I think the stars and the legends of Manchester City, you think of De Bruyne, you think of, Silva, you think of Rodri being out. They need help, and the players who are coming out, can't provide it right now.
Yeah, really different feel on the other side of Manchester, of course. Ruben Amorim made a really, really big decision beforehand, didn't he? Rashford and Garnacho out of the matchday squad. How significant do you think that was and will be?
It's significant in that I think early on, we see this with most managers who come in, they want to send a message to the squad about the standards of the football club. I think in some ways it feels a bigger decision than it actually is, because it looks like a big message. He's left Marcus Rashford out. I mean, is Marcus Rashford in the best 11? Really? How good is he? We're not talking about a world-renowned superstar here. I actually think we talk about Marcus Rashford too much, if I'm being totally honest. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's been a really good player for Manchester United. It is time for him to leave the club. But whether there'll be any takers with the wages the lad's on and things like that, who knows? But I just think a partner of the ways is inevitable at some stage. And I think for Manchester United and Rashford, the quicker that comes, the better.
Do you like the look of Amorim?
Yeah, I mean, I like it just because, listen, you take a liking or a dislike sometimes to certain managers, the way they come across in interviews or something they say, or maybe how they react after wins or defeats. We're all scrutinising managers. That's why it's such a tough job. I really like the cut of his jib. He comes, I think he speaks well. But listen, it's all about results. And I think that was a big one for him. Because I think when a new manager comes in, no one's expecting Man United to win every week. We know they're not good enough. But I think when you bring a new manager in, you want him to see a couple of big wins against good opposition and, a top manager in Pep. And he's been Pep now twice in maybe a month or so. So it shows he's obviously got the ingredients to be a top manager, but there's so much competition in the Premier League. But I think over the next 18 months, we'll probably give him an easy ride. We know there's a lot to turn around at that football club, but that was a big one to build belief with his own players and supporters in his methods.
Well, it looks like Liverpool have got a good one in Arne Slot. Good result for them at the weekend, considering everything. Do they enjoy, do you think, being front runners in the Premier League?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think they'd rather be there than be in the position of Chelsea or Arsenal right now. They've dropped 4 points in the last couple of games, but we keep talking about teams having a bad patch. Now, dropping points is a bad patch, if you like, but I still think there's enough in those games not to get overly worried about Liverpool. They still scored 3 away at Newcastle, lose the game, or they get a point the last minute of the game because of a mistake by the goalkeeper. And yesterday, or certainly on Saturday, someone getting a red card, you can't legislate for that, but that'll happen to every team throughout the season. But the way they came back, even though they dropped 2 points, I think Slot and his coaching staff this morning will be thinking, yeah, we're disappointed with the result, but we can take a lot from that game and we can use it going forward, because there's going to be a lot of more setbacks between now and the end of the season for all the top teams and how you react to them. And I think Liverpool reacted really well at the weekend.
They did. Do they look like champions to you?
I think watching that game, I felt like I was watching a champion team. That's what they would do in a situation like that. And if Liverpool could have won that game, I think psychologically what that would have done to Arsenal, City or Chelsea as well. But I think with the situation they found themselves in, to get a point...
Actions of a madman. Man United flop Antony escapes red card for shock headbutt just days after being sent off for kicking opponent in face. Antony was back in the headlines again for all the wrong reasons, as the Real Betis star headbutt FC Utrecht's Sofiane El Karouani, but somehow escaped a red card. The former Manchester United winger was sent off just a few days ago after accidentally kicking a Girona player in the head from an attempted overhead kick. Now he has been branded a madman after luckily escaping another dismissal. Antony sent off in La Liga at the weekend. Antony was sent off when his high boot caught Girona's Joel Roca in the face. The former Ajax man made apologetic gestures to the home fans as he trudged off the pitch, before later taking to social media to double down on his contrition. He wrote, "Very sad about the red card. All I wanted was to help my team win. A completely unintentional move. Sorry to all the fans that have always supported me." Then, a couple of days after the incident, he admitted it had been hard to sleep off the back of his actions. The Brazil international added, I had no intention. That's why we're going to try to appeal. I won the ball. When I did the overhead there, I didn't see it, I was looking at the ball. It was the VAR decision. The referee knows that I had no intention. It was very hard to sleep. I stayed at home thinking all night. I slept very little. This was deliberate on Thursday. However, Antony's luck was in, as he escaped another sending-off in Betis, 2-1 Europa League win over Utrecht. Despite appearing to headbutt El Karouani in the first half, the 25-year-old wasn't penalized by referee Nenad Minikovic, with not even a free kick going the visitors' way. That incensed one Dutch pundit, with the analyst describing Antony's headbutt as actions of a madman. Former Ajax player Jan van Hulst said on Ziggo Sport, via 6. Unhappy? No. That's an unfortunate statement by the referee. This was deliberate. It is an action of a madman. How do you get it in your head? I've also kicked a ball once, had a duel like that. Then, you don't think about making such a movement with your head, do you? Very strange. He was in a lot of pain. Some of Van Hulst's colleagues were equally as flabbergasted that Antony received no punishment for his actions. Utrecht manager Ronjan said, "The VAR was not there today. Also with that cross to Seb Haller, he is completely held. You have to be lucky with moments like that, and we haven't had that a few times. That Virgil van Dijk handball against Olympique Lyon. Today, 2 more moments that are ultimately decisive again. I think they could have just whistled for a penalty and a red card, and if he had been completely held down. And there was also a moment when they could have been down to 10 men in the first half. But yeah, that doesn't suit us in Europe. Moments like that can be decisive and then they make it 2-0, and you think, oh, dear." And Utrecht defender Nick Viergever added, "But he was in a lot of pain for a reason. The referee said he had assessed it and that it was unfortunate. We also had maybe half a penalty moment with Seb Haller. Then it's not easy." What comes next for Antony? Antony, who finally ended his United nightmare earlier this year, had hoped to feature in Betis' clash with rivals Sevilla this weekend as his team appealed against his red card. Yes, of course. We have to try and appeal. I know how important this game is and I want to play it, said the Brazilian, who is trying to make his national team's World Cup squad next year. However, Antony has been handed a 1-match ban, so he won't be available for the trip to Sevilla in La Liga on Sunday. However, he could return on December 3rd for their Copa del Rey clash away at Torrent.